My name is Fred Chase. I will call to order this meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council. If the councilors would kindly join me in a salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a note for everyone in attendance or observing remotely. Tonight's meeting will be recorded and aired live and recorded for future broadcast. The council is not made aware of the recent passing of any military veterans in the town, but if you would please join me for just a moment of silence in recognition of all those veterans of the town who have passed before, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting. That was on April 4th, 2023. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? And seeing none, if we could by voice vote, please. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I see none. Thank you. There are no announcements from the President this evening. We do, however, have a proclamation. I'm very glad to say it was brought forth by Councilor McKinnon, and I'm happy to read this into the record. This is a proclamation in honor of our first responders. Whereas first responders, including firefighters, police officers, nurses, doctors, military personnel, and anyone else who works in the health care field, and whereas first responders are a vital part of the community and risk their own safety in the performance of their duties, and whereas first responders undergo significant training, education, and personal sacrifice in order to respond to every type of emergency. And whereas the town of Bridgewater supports all first responders for their willingness to protect the residents of Bridgewater and surrounding towns. And whereas the families of first responders also deserve appreciation and respect for the sacrifices they have made in order to support their loved one's service. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Bridgewater, Massachusetts, does hereby proclaim April 29th, 2023 as First Responders Day in the town of Bridgewater, and urges all citizens to recognize and honor the sacrifices that first responders make. Once again, Council, I thank you very much for bringing that forward, and I would ask all the councilors to kindly, before leaving this evening, please join with us in signing this proclamation. Thank you. We can move on to citizen open forum, and if there are citizens who care to address the council, I would invite you to do so now by stepping forward to the podium. Please introduce yourself by name and identify your street, and kindly limit your remarks to not more than 3 minutes. Any citizen who is interested? Yes.
My name is Al Lasser. I'm the president of the Fire for Effect Foundation here in Bridgewater. I live on Comfort Street. I just wanted to stop in, and I really want to, say that I really appreciate the proclamation that you just put forth and that you all agreed to. I think it has a lot of meaning. There's a lot of national days of recognition, and I think a lot of times we sort of get lost in those, and we forget that these men and women who do those jobs, it feels good to be appreciated by your own hometown. So I really appreciate what was just done, and I look forward to doing more things in the town, and I'm looking forward to having that First Responder Appreciation Day event on the 29th, and it's fitting that that proclamation actually officially makes that day First Responder Day. So thank you very much for that, and I appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lacerda. Are there other citizens who care to address the council? I see none at the moment. We can move on. We do have several appointments to consider this evening, and the first is the appointment of a representative to the, a Republican representative to the Board of Voter Registrars of the town, and the candidate is Debbie Campbell Johnson, who would serve a 3-year term, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Wood.
Debbie's a Lion. I've known her for a number of years now, through other town events and she's going to be great in this position.
That's great. Thank you, Councilor. And if we could have a roll call, I'm sorry, just a voice vote, please. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And seeing none. Thank you very much. And secondly, we have an appointment to the Conservation Commission, a reappointment, and that is for Marilyn McDonald to serve the Conservation Commission for the term of 2023 through 2026. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? And seeing none, if we could have a vote, please. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I see none. Thank you very much. Finally, for appointments, we have an appointee to the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. That is Ms. Shirley Phillips to serve the term from 2023 through 2026. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Yes,
Can't
Councilor
think of
Linde.
anybody better.
Oh, really? Thank you very much. That's a great endorsement. I appreciate your saying that. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We see none. Thank you very much. We have no hearings scheduled this evening. We do have a license transaction, however, which will entail a hearing. And so this is on the matter of petition P 2023-028, granting of the transfer of a wine and malt beverage license. This is with respect to what is known as Pages 3, the retailer located within the premises of the Roach Brothers Supermarket. And I will, at this moment, at 7:08, I will open the public hearing. And I will ask if the petitioner or representative is present.
Before we start, Mandeep Singh is the manager of record. He's in traffic right now. With me is Jay Kotak. I don't know if you want to wait for Mandeep to arrive or push us to the back of the hearing or what have you.
Okay, well, very good. Well, if there's anything you care to say, we're just going to, we have the documentation we need to consider it, so
Okay.
if you have no comments or questions, that's fine.
I'll
But
present what's going on and let me know. So it's a transfer of the package store beer and wine license known as Pages 3. It's located within the Roach Brothers Supermarket. Jay and Mandeep are taking over the store, and we're requesting a transfer of the license, approval of Mandeep Singh as the manager of record, and a pledge of the license and inventory to 20 Broad Street, Inc., who is the current license holder, and it's for about a year or so to finance the inventory transaction. Jay owns Sun Market in Norton. He's familiar with the beer and wine process in a convenience store. This is going to be just a transfer of ownership. There's no expansion of the premises or anything like that. The store hours will be essentially when the supermarket is open. So beginning 8 a.m. to close Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. To close on Sundays.
I see, thank you.
Jay is experienced. He actually runs his own store already. Mandeep will be the manager of record. We'll get him tip certified, and they'll check IDs and install an ID scanner to help combat underage alcohol sales.
All right, I see, thank you. I will ask if there are any general questions from members of the public with respect to this proposed matter. Any questions from the general public? I see none. Does anyone from the public care to speak in favor of this transfer of license? Anyone speaking in favor? I see no one. Does anyone from the public wish to speak in opposition to this proposed license transfer? And I see no one here to speak in opposition. Are there questions from the town councilors? And I see that there are none. I will note that we have documentation that certainly supports the proposed transfer. I don't think that I have any questions. I gather that there really will be, based on your remarks, little, if any, change in the general operation of the business.
No change,
And I think
right.
we're quite accustomed to the business that has transpired there under the existing licensee. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Second?
Motion and a second, thank you. Any discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I see no one. I will close the public hearing, and I thank you very much and congratulate you.
Great, thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Send the paperwork to the ABCC tomorrow.
Moving on to another license transaction, petition P 2023-029, the granting of an annual entertainment license. The applicant is the Black Hat Brew Works, and I would note, just for the record, that this is, what is being sought is an annual entertainment license which would enable live entertainment, live musical entertainment to be provided on the premises at 25 Scotland Boulevard, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and a second, thank you. Any discussion at all? I see there none. I thank you very much. If we could have a voice vote, please, in favor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? There are none. Thank you very much. Moving on to petition P 2023-030, change of officers or directors. This is with respect to the 99 Pub, Restaurant and Pub located at 233 Broad Street. I know that you gentlemen have before you the actual specifics as to the nature of the change, and I do note that, in fact, of course, the licensee has been empowered to provide their services for quite some time, and I think I'm very predisposed to be favorable to this based on that, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Once again, there is none. If we could have a voice vote, please. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And there is none. Thank you very much. We have no presentations this evening, but we can move directly to the town manager's report. And I would ask, please, for your comments with respect to the fire station update. Mr. Dutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fire station progress is moving along. The architects and engineers have all engaged at this point, the civil engineer, electrical, software, and so forth. The final piece of the wetlands delineation. Final piece, now people can hear me. Final piece of the wetland delineation was completed last week and identified a vernal pool on the property, which is fine. All of the planning has been done contemplating back that that would be a vernal pool, so we got confirmation of that, which we need now to go and proceed with the Conservation Commission. So there's nothing, at this point, nothing out of the ordinary during the planning process. We're still on target to do what's referred to as a site package, so two different sets of bids. One will be for the site work, that we'll do that first, and then one for the general contract to actually construct the fire station. So we're still on track for that and still moving ahead. So happy to answer any questions.
I thank you. Are there questions for the town manager? I see none. And if you would, I think next on your agenda, the High Street Bridge closure.
Just a reminder that the High Street Bridge closure will take place on June 15th and continue until middle of October sometime. During that time, the bridge, or the set of box culverts that the town river flows through, will be removed, and a clear span bridge will be installed. The dam, the High Street Dam, will also be deconstructed along with that project as well. So it's a disruptive project, obviously, for traffic on High Street, but one that is necessary, and we want to complete that as quickly as possible. But we will put signs out. The signboards will be going out about 30 days prior to the actual closure, so that the electronic signboards will notify travelers on High Street that that portion, or at least the bridge, will be out, and they'll have to find alternative route. We will send a mailing out to a circle or a circumference of folks, or a radius of folks who live within so many, probably quarter mile of that location as well, so that they will get direct notification. And then obviously we've been pushing out press releases and so forth, and we will continue to do that with additional information about the project and its genesis and why it's important. So that is in the works. But just a reminder, I want to make sure, certainly the council knows, because you hear it every time we meet, but it's important that the public know that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Are there questions? Yes, Councilor Moore.
Maybe just an ask, I think. In addition to the people that are impacted by the traffic pattern, I have heard some people wondering whether or not if they border that body of water, upstream or downstream, should they also expect an impact? So maybe just as part of the messaging, if we could just include that in the FAQs, that would be helpful.
Thank you. Further questions? Councilor Lindy?
One thing I've noticed since the work has begun is at the end of Wall Street, where it goes into, I think, Elm, there's like a triangle intersection. There's a stop sign there, but it's like people roll through the stop sign. I'm kind of worried about a lot of increased traffic on that, because that's the detour down Wall Street instead of going the other side. So what can we do about that down the road?
Several things. We know we will have an issue on Oak Street as well, because people will be trying to use that as the most convenient detour. We will not, will temporarily restrict any truck traffic on Oak Street, and we'll post signage that makes it a very undesirable route to go. And it is an undesirable route to go.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the Wall Street issue, though. I know our public safety folks, including the two chiefs and their deputies, have really scoped out, and as well as our town engineer, have really scoped it out and have a plan in place for signage at key locations. But that specific one, I'm not sure about, but I can find out.
Thank you.
I thank you. Councilor Gallagher?
No?
No? Nothing? Any further questions for the town manager? I see none. Thank you. And if you would please, Mr. Dutton, with respect to the Bristol Plymouth debt exclusion vote?
Absolutely. Again, another reminder, Bristol Plymouth debt exclusion vote is coming up this Saturday. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The vote is very important for the town's operating budget. This year we created an operating budget that does not contemplate the debt. We were able to balance it after a fair amount of hard work, but I think, as the council knows, if the vote does not pass, we'll be back to the drawing board to come with a proposal to fund the small amount that we have to fund this year, but more importantly, give you some ideas of what we'll have to do in FY25 in order to fund that debt exclusion, or rather fund that expense that we will have. So I think a lot of people are a little bit confused about the debt exclusion request. We will, unlike a lot of projects, if the debt exclusion fails, the project doesn't stop. The project is going to happen. Bridgewater is going to be assessed the debt that it is going to owe for the Bristol Plymouth new school. The question for voters is how we want to fund that. And so the debt exclusion option is there on the ballot for April 22nd, Saturday, at the polls. So it is an important vote. So just a reminder.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councilor Wood.
Thanks. I think it would be a good idea if you shared also maybe on the webpage or something, that segment of the spreadsheet that you sent me last week that includes the debt schedule for Bridgewater. So it tells us that we're about 11% of the school as it exists, and then runs through the years of what the payment schedule is going to be. So you can clearly see in the body of most of the payments, right now it's estimated to be $1.2 million annually for the payments. So as I've been telling people, you know, it's easier for them to see that because there's also it remarks on there $33 per 100,000 on your house, so you can kind of calculate. So for a lot of houses, it works out to be $150 a year. It's up or down depending on what your house value is. But I think it helps people understand that we will be committing to $1.2 million each year. And if it's not external debt through the debt exclusion, it's going to be internal debt through the operating funds. And that could have some serious impact on our first responders and other parts of the budget. So hopefully everybody supports that. But if you could share that, I think it's beneficial, yeah. Maybe not the whole schedule, but the Bridgewater slice.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there further questions or comments with respect to that matter? And I see none. I thank you very much, Mr. Dutton. We have no discussion scheduled for this evening. Are there any committee reports that councilors would like to make us aware of? I see none. Legislation for action. First item on our agenda for that purpose is petition P 2023-028, a resolution honoring Juneteenth. And I would ask if Councilor Moore has comments he'd like to make to introduce that matter.
Yeah, I think this is like we've done in the past, recognizing Juneteenth. We read it in full at the last meeting, so I would encourage everyone to support it. I would appreciate your support on it.
Thank you very much. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I see none. I thank you very much. Moving on to resolution FY 23-005, funds review resolution, and I would turn it over to Councilor Gallagher, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, back in February, when I introduced this, I explained the purpose of this was to take a look at all the capital accounts and other funds that we have outside of the budget, look at the language in which they were established, and see if we are using it to the correct language of the order that established it, get a track record, see how much money's come in, come out, are we using it? So that was the purpose of putting this resolution together. So it's gone to the Budget and Finance Committee and the Finance Committee, and basically we did get some information, and I guess the next step is to approve this and allow us to do the review. This was just to see if there was enough need to do a review. And I think we agreed that there is enough to do a review. Nothing catastrophic, just to have the authorization to actually make a review and make any recommendations, if any, that might need to be changed to these accounts. So that's the process. So the resolution was to look at it and see if there was anything in it that we might want to take a look at. But now this is authorizing that work to actually get done.
Thank you, Counselor. I note that as you've alluded, the Budget and Finance Committee voted 3-0 to recommend approval, and the Finance Committee voted 7-0 to recommend approval. And I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Also, Mr. President, if you keep in mind that the next council meeting is not until May 9th, and there'll be some reorganization of the committees. So this may take a few months to come back, so just keep that.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you. And moving on to order FY 23-054, contractual ratification. This is with respect to the contract between the town and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. And I would ask if Mr. Dutton would kindly introduce this matter.
Hello, Mr. President. This order ratifies the agreement that was negotiated between AFSCME and the town for FY '23, '24, and '25. The pertinent parts or the substantive parts are small increases in license stipends, but I think more importantly for both the town and the union, we've negotiated in the second year, we've negotiated a two-step increase, and in the third year, a two-step increase, which we think gets the membership more in line with the surrounding towns, essentially the pay rates in the surrounding towns. So we believe that this will be very helpful in our efforts to negotiate, or not negotiate, in order to recruit AFSCME employees both at Highway Department, Water Department, Sewer Department.
I see. I thank you. And I would entertain a motion for referral to the Budget and Finance Committees.
So moved?
Motion and a second, thank you. Any discussion? And seeing none, if we could have a vote, please. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance, FY '23-010, Establish Stabilization Fund Opioid Legal Settlements. Mr. Town Manager, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This would establish another stabilization fund, which is authorized through Chapter 40, Section 5B. In this particular one, to hold any monies that we receive from the variety of opioid legal settlements that are due the town. So it would separate them. Invariably, our ability to use those funds is heavily restricted. So we figured that this was the best way to essentially physically separate that money so that it doesn't get near the town's general fund because of those restrictions on the expenditures.
Thank you. And I would entertain a motion for referral to the Budget and Finance Committees.
Second?
Motion and a second, thank you. And discussion? Once again, there is none. Thank you very much.
We got to vote.
I'm sorry?
Got to vote.
We didn't? Let's vote then. All those please in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And I see none. Thank you.
Sees the record
And
in play.
related matter.
You see the record in play, don't you? Yeah, you see? Know
That's right.
how you work, Fred.
Ordinance FY '23-011, Special Purpose Stabilization Fund Opioid Settlement. Mr. Dutton, if you would please, once again.
Thank you. This ordinance establishes under Chapter 40, Section 5B, that 100% of the proceeds from any opioid settlement or litigation would go into the soon-to-be new opioid settlement stabilization fund. Section 5B of Chapter 40 requires that if you set up the fund, then at least 25% of the funds from here have to go in, and again, due to the restrictions on the use of those funds, we felt it would be appropriate to dedicate 100% of whatever those revenues are into that fund. And I should point out that the council votes those funds out. So the funds go in, council appropriates after those funds are received by the stabilization fund.
I thank you. And I would entertain a motion for referral to the Budget and Finance Committees.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a
Second.
second. Thank you. Discussion? And once again, there is none. If all those who vote in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And there are none. Thank you again. And we move on to ordinance FY '23-012, General Ordinance, Section D5, 10D5, Flow Neutral Regulation, Sewer Regulations, introduced by Councilor Perry. Councilor, if you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just working in conjunction with the town manager on some time-sensitive regulations that needed to be put together for wastewater and sewer, and I'll defer to the town manager if he has any further comment on it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dutton?
Right now, I think the most important component of the discussion really is that we're required to do this in order to qualify for low or no interest funding through the state revolving fund, and also potentially qualify for principal forgiveness on the Phase 1 of the sewer project. So it's a requirement. This is where my notes would be helpful, because I have this all in my notes, which are now somewhere. But it essentially identifies our current flows and allocates those out to the town, to BSU, to future growth, and so forth. And then allows by right expansion of certain residential properties, going from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, for example, and then establishing the land space requirements needed to support either a Title V system or to support or to flow to the sewer
Sewer
plant.
connection.
So it really just, it's a lot of definitions, establishes sort of a point in time for us, and is most importantly required for our funding through the state. And I should point out, these can be amended later on, but this is what we need to get on the books for right now.
I see. All right, I thank you. And I would entertain a motion for referral to the Rules and Procedures Committee.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Yes, Councilor Wood.
Question about section 5.3, the mandatory sewer connection. So that, the way I'm reading it, it applies to anyone that basically has sewer line running in front of their house has to connect at some point. That's the first question. Is that true?
I believe that is true.
Okay. The second follow-up question to that is, in the past, we've discussed that the sewer plant as it is, or the wastewater treatment plant as it is, and even in the future, may have limited capacity. So has anyone done calculations, it may be too early, but has anyone done calculations that if all the eligible properties connect, are we under the cap, or have we exceeded the cap?
I think we're still within the cap if if required properties connect, certainly. But we are doing more study that's going on right now to determine what our capacity issue is. And I do want to make one correction. It's not currently required that properties tie in. That's subject to any regulations that the council adopts in the future. So what is required is once you tie in, you have to decommission your Title V system, if that makes sense.
Any further questions, comments? Yes, Councilor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. On that point, Mike, so those people that have tied in, was it normal operating procedure at that time to have their septic system decommissioned? So it's not like it's retro yet, now they have to go back and get that done, or?
So I believe Title V regulations actually say that abandoned Title V systems or abandoned cesspools need to be filled in.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be something new, but it's just confirmed in these
Right,
regulations.
and I think Council Wood brings up a good point. This 5-3 is very, very important, and could be very, very expensive to a homeowner, and unnecessarily unknowns to them that this might come to their mailbox. So, you know, this is an important piece that the rules and procedures need to address, because the implementation of something like this, you know, could be very costly to a homeowner. Thank you.
I thank you. Are there further questions or comments? Seeing none. I thank you very much. We can move on to the citizen comment portion of our evening, if there are any citizens.
Vote.
We still need a vote on that.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the time. I'm trying to set a record here.
You're out.
I would ask, please, with respect to that last matter, all those in favor, please, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? There are none. I thank you once again. And we could move on to citizen comments. If there are citizens who would care to address the council, I invite you to kindly step forward. I see that Mr. Fitzgibbons is here. Welcome, sir.
Yes, and I'm doing okay sitting on this side. Thank you. Thank you all for your service. I appreciate that. But I just wanted to recognize Bill. It's his last meeting here. And we served on the initial town council together. And I remember the first time we met, and he didn't know me, and I didn't know him. And I'm not sure whether we liked each other or not, but at least he answered the questions right when I asked him. And that was the thing you always learned about Bill, was nobody was more detailed than Bill. He was my go-to person all the time, especially when I was president of the council. Bill, can we do this? Is that in the charter? He'd be the first stop before I'd go to the attorney. Because he knew it inside and out. If he didn't, he'd have it right there in his briefcase, be able to look it up. So I appreciate all of the service you've given to the town, and welcome to being a ex-counselor. It's fun. There are other things to do on Tuesday nights. And, despite the fact a couple, maybe it was 2 years into our relationship, where he was talking about, he had 3 rules in life, and I won't repeat them. That's for him to say. For the most part, he was right with those rules. But even though we had our disagreements, I certainly appreciate his service to the town, and I just wanted to come down and thank him for that. So thank you for your time. I appreciate all you guys do, and appreciate the efforts on behalf of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbons. Are there other citizens who care to address the council? Anyone at all? I see none. I thank you very much. We can move on to council comments, and I'd like to begin this evening, please, if I could, with Councilor McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind folks about this weekend to get out there and vote for the school, and we're going to have a new councilor to replace Bill Wood after, about 10 years of service you've been here. I got to thank you for all those years that you did for your town. And the weekend after that, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th, I believe it's Anything Goes, Rainwater is doing at the high school. And then on the 29th, Gallagher and Lindy, you guys did the trash cleanup, set that up, right? And then Al and the folks over at Fire for Effect after that will be down on Spring Street, so it'll be a good day for the town on Saturday. And then this weekend, I went down to New Bedford. They had this little event. You get an app on your phone. It's, it's about $80, I think, if you don't pay ahead of time, but my sister was saying it's $40 if you pay before a certain date. And it's a little, like I said, it's just on an app. It was Alice in Wonderland based this time, and you go around at, it was in New Bedford in the center, probably 1 mile radius, and you just go around to all the hot spots, and you answer clues, you find riddles, you see there's a chimney on there, that's the answer to the question. And it was a great thing. There was thousands of people that showed up. I'm not saying we need to get something that brings in thousands of people, but this could be an idea we incorporate with the college or somewhere not right on the center, because I can't see that many people crossing the street being a good idea, but it's maybe something we could look into that could maybe benefit the folks at the firework committee or something like that, just for the future, because as we know, those prices for them went pretty high this year, so something for the future maybe look into. Just an app, and it definitely brought that town a lot of money. So something just to maybe look into.
That's interesting, Councilor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor George.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. Great reminder for, voting for Saturday. Not only, voting for new town councilors, but also for the debt exclusion, which I very much support, and hopefully everyone else does as well. So 7 years ago, Mr. Wood, I think I sat on the council for the very first time. And as Mr. Fitzgibbons pointed out, you were very gracious to me. You were, very helpful. It was kind of like drinking out of a fire hose at times. But, we haven't always agreed on things, but I think at the end of the day, you know, we all try to do what we feel is best for the town. I'd say the vast majority of the time, we agree. But I think everything you put towards the town has made this a better community. Appreciate all you've done, and, you know, hopefully you'll enjoy whatever you have for your future endeavors. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, just to echo what was already said, please remind everyone to come out and vote this weekend. The debt exclusion is a very important question to be answered, very important, I believe, to support, because we do not want to try and face the financial responsibility the town will have to the BP school if we don't pass it. So please come on out and support it. Would be greatly appreciated. And I also, too, want to thank Mr. Wood for his years of service to the town council and the town. I've had the pleasure of working with Bill, not only here at the council level, but in the Lions and many other things. And no matter what he's involved in, he always gives it 100%, and he's also very well versed and knowledge about the background and rules of everything, as Mr. Fitzgibbons was saying. So his expertise and his knowledge will be greatly missed by the council going forward. So we'll have to see who will pick up that ball and run with it going forward. But again, thank you, Mr. Wood, for all your years of service, and best of luck to you in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Moore?
Sure, a couple things. I was really excited to see the Scotland Field improvements. If you haven't driven by there, it's starting to feel like a community place. So similar to new ideas, sort of changes in existing things, and improvements are great. And maybe if we could get an update on that from the town manager in an upcoming meeting, that would be great. I also would like to remind everyone to vote, but if you're watching this, you're probably already planning to vote. So my ask is going to be a little bit different. Like, reach out to somebody in Bridgewater who maybe isn't as active and isn't planning to vote, and encourage them to get involved, and maybe take them to the polls and help them understand the issues. I think more people get involved sort of based on the people they know than I think the group that is always involved, which is appreciated. I also support funding BP. I think it's critical. We already voted to do it. It is a way to support our youth and give them career paths, and communities are built so that we can support each other and our kids, and so I hope that's part of it. There are also some great candidates on the ballot. We have the town councilor position. We also have the school committee. I think the people that put in the effort to get on the ballot deserve the vote. And I think we've got some great candidates there, so I encourage you to get out and get involved, share your voice through that as well. The Juneteenth committee is also looking for donations. So in addition to the July 4th, which is greatly appreciated, the other way that we celebrate freedom in our town is through Juneteenth. So those two paired events. And the Juneteenth committee has a webpage. They have Facebook group. But I would just say if you are willing to donate and interested in donating to that, just email me and I can direct you to the right person. And then lastly, I also want to thank Bill for his service to Bridgewater. It's interesting hearing the comments about Bill sort of being the expert on Bridgewater echoes with me too. I feel like he is like a walking Bridgewater encyclopedia, and also just policy and sort of political encyclopedia as well. And even this morning I came in and I was like, geez, am I allowed to post on Facebook about this thing? And the first person I asked was Bill. And not only did Bill give me the answer, he gave me the history of how he researched it and the times he's applied it before. So I echo the sentiment that if you walk around Bridgewater, it would be hard to look somewhere that Bill hasn't touched. And so your service is greatly appreciated, and your impact on us and helping us is also appreciated. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Counselor. I'm actually going to yield my time and my position in this discussion this evening so that Counselor Wood might have the final say. But I would like to just take a moment to, for myself, certainly echo the comments of your fellow councilors that we have all looked to you for guidance at many points. And I think you've never failed to provide good counsel to us, and we thank you immensely for that. And obviously your years of dedicated service to the town, just cannot be underestimated. You've made a tremendous commitment, and you've lived up to that commitment here. And I think that I think that everyone in the town should really be grateful to you for that dedicated service. And I was just thinking recently about when I had first joined the council. You'll remember I had done so to fill a vacancy that was created by a departing councilor, and I came to the council to seek appointment. And I remember, Bill, that your suggestion at the time was, well, there's an upcoming election, why don't you just take papers out? But nonetheless, you were very supportive of my willingness to step forward and to seek the appointment which the council granted to me. And on many occasions since, I have relied upon your understanding of the council business, and certainly your understanding of the town and what is best for the town. Most importantly, Bill, you've never been controversial. I just have to point, not a single thing. But Bill, thank you very much. We're all really deeply indebted to you. And I congratulate you, and I wish you every good thing going forward. Thank you very much. Councilor Lindy.
Okay, I'm going to echo what a lot of the other councilors said. First of all, definitely to give to the 4th of July committee so we make sure we have a 4th of July, and also to the Juneteenth committee. The Bristol-Plymouth vote is critical. We don't want to find that money someplace else. I sat on a voc tech committee for 11 years, and I know the whole importance of it, and we have a great one here in this district. So I'd urge everybody to don't kick the ball in the wrong direction, okay? And lastly, I was appointed to a vacant council seat when Mr. Wood resigned. And I just want to thank him for his service. Shouldn't be animosity. Politics should not be as personal as it's turned into in this country. And on a local level, I've seen all the good work that you've done, and I appreciate you as well.
Thank you. And Councilor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few things tonight. Again, I want to remind everyone the town election is coming up Saturday. I do see signs popping up around town, a few of them anyway, and I hope that I appreciate those that have put themselves out there to be on the ballot and willing to serve the community for the next 3 years. And as has been said by all the councilors tonight, it's important to support the Bristol-Plymouth vote on Saturday. The building is going to be built. It's a question of how you want to pay for it. Do you want to pay for it through cutting budgets or adjusting budgets, or pay through it through a debt exclusion, which I think the town has put themselves in good shape to be able to accommodate that expense. And as I said 2 weeks ago, the trades are very, very important. They're important to all of us, and they're important to someone like me who can't fix anything. So when you need a plumber or an electrician, having a tradesman out there is very, very important, and Bristol-Plymouth certainly provides that sort of education for students that want to go into those specific fields. So encourage everyone to vote on Saturday. And in 2 weeks, as was read earlier, and I thank Councilor Kinnan for putting forth the resolution on First Responder Day. It's been a lot of work by the Fire for Effect organization helping get that off the ground at the Town River Landing, which they have also done a lot of work in cleaning that up. So I hope everyone is able to come down and attend that first responder event on April 29th. But before you go down to that event, we will be meeting right here on the morning of the 29th from 9 to noon. As I said 2 weeks ago, Wind Waste Management has agreed to supply all the cleaning supplies, and Councilor George and Councilor Lindy are helping put this together. Wind Waste Manager will bring a dumpster here. They'll provide trash bags, gloves, safety T-shirts, etc., to anyone that wants to come by and take a certain section of the town and go out for a half hour, an hour, and just clean it up and bring the trash back to us. It's an important event that we do every year to try to beautify the town as we get ready for all the summer activities. So that's very important as well. I also want to finally say farewell to Councilor Wood. as has been said by all the councilors tonight. You are the last, I believe, original council that was elected in 2010, although you did have a brief respite for a few months at one point. The service that you have given to the town, particularly in the area of the finance and assisting the finance department in building our reserves, establishing a lot of these capital accounts and stabilization accounts, and a good economy didn't help either, to allow us to be able to do the things that we've been able to do these past several years. And your leadership and your initiative under those guidance has been very, very effective and will certainly continue to be in many, many years after you're no longer a counselor. Now, I've known you for probably about 20 years. And I know at one point, former selectman Alan Chalker and I and you were sitting around and we were talking and we were trying to convince you to join the Lions Club. And I am a Lion too. I'm not as active as Councilor Perry or Councilor Wood are, but I am still a Lion. But Bill's work and Bill's effort on the Lions has certainly not gone unnoticed. But as soon as you joined, that's when Alan and I kind of left. Oh, it's good. But the work that you're going to continue to do with the Lions in this town to help our community is certainly not going to go unnoticed. And I'm sure you will be sitting at home or on your keyboard making comments about things that we do going forward and not do going forward. So I think your impact, although you won't be on the council, there's no question, I don't think you're going to go away. You're still going to be important, and your thought process and how things should get done should certainly be heard. However, not everybody's going to agree with you, right? We have had a lot of issues here at the council since I've been here, since 2015. And the great thing about government, when it can work, there's supposed to be differences of opinions. There's supposed to be people that agree with that or don't agree with that. And it's the end result that I think we all might agree on, but it's how to get there. We all will have our different views and opinions on how to get there. I might have disagreed with him wholeheartedly on whether recreational marijuana was good for this community. I stuck my ground, you stuck your ground, but we can still sit down and have a beer or whatnot. We don't hate each other for that. We offered our views and our opinions to try to better the community. But the end result really was the question really was, how do we generate revenue for the town? That was the big issue regarding why we should have this. So your efforts in that regard will certainly go on in the town in the future. But it's when you can't sit down with someone after a heated debate, that's when there's a problem. And we have had those times on the council and when I was a selectman, when you couldn't do that, when you couldn't disagree and yet still say hi to each other. We don't have that now. We certainly didn't have that with some of the issues that Councilor Wood and I disagreed on, and many of you. So that's what's important about having a diverse, effective form of government. We need differences of opinions. We need different backgrounds. And when you mix it all in a pot, you'll come out with a result that I think everyone can work with. I think that's very important, and I think you also agree with that too. So I wish you well in whatever your future endeavors are, and I thank you again for your service to the town council and your continued service in this community in other ways.
Thank you, Councilor, and Councilor Wood.
Thank you. I'll start off, and I'll keep it to 3 minutes, but I'll start off with the Lions Project, since that's, life goes on. The Lions Youth Fishing Derby is on May 6th, and I'm making a call out to different people. We need a porta potty. Last year we had one donated. It became very expensive. If there's anyone out there in the listening world that has access to a porta potty that wants to donate it for a day, that'd be wonderful. I also want to touch on the election. I want to remind people that the election, you can stop downstairs at the town clerk's office until Friday at 1 p.m. and cast an absentee ballot if you're not going to be here Saturday or you have other conflicts. And then Saturday, the election goes from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., and then the results will be heard. As you know, Paul Murphy is running for the at-large seat that I occupy. I wish him well. I did give him the counsel that you've all spoken about, which is you may disagree in the meetings, but at the gavel, we don't have a gavel, but at the end of the meeting, forget it. You know, you took your vote, you had your disagreements, move on, go have a beer, or, you know, whatever. And the other thing is that, you know, everybody at the table gets one vote. So it's not like, you know, I get 3 and you get half, you know, it's everybody gets one vote. So, you know, work out differences, move in a positive direction. So I wear this tie. This was the tie I wore on the very first meeting, so I thought it was fitting that I'd wear it on the very last meeting. It'll go in Hall of Fame, I'm sure. I did calculate that I have served now for 142 months, which I did make a mistake on the math earlier, because I said it was 11 years and something, but it's 11 years and 10 months, which no one should do for free, ever. The only way I've been successful, and I want to recognize my wife, Ellen, in the audience, the only way I've been successful here is that we have really good discussions, sometimes debates at home. And so, you know, you see my thoroughness, and Mr. Fitzgibbons mentioned the 3 rules. The 3 rules are Bill is right, always trust Bill. But I only get to that point because someone has challenged me long before we sit down and start discussing items that are here. So she and the family have been always supportive. When we started out, 12 years ago, you know, the kids were still in school, so she had they were all good students, but she had to organize everything at home on Tuesday nights and on Wednesday nights and Thursday nights. And sometimes we'd have, you know, meetings on the next Tuesday night also. So I want to thank Ellen for all the support over the years. I think we've accomplished a lot during my time here. We started out in complete chaos, shifting from the selectman to town manager, town council form of government. No one quite knew how to make the adjustment. We worked through all the adjustments. We now have you know, the code in place. We have a zoning code in place. We've got all the major pieces working, and there's going to be disagreements, and healthy debate is healthy, so keep doing it. But we, you know, in what I've done and focused on, the traffic light on High Street at Broad Street, you know, was a tremendous change to the community, very positive thing. Collectively, we've worked on open space, and we've got the Peter Murray's space. We've got the extra space at Stiles and Hart. They're still working on space. We've seen the McElwain School transform it from an empty, abandoned building into, we took a tour the other day. It looks great. And most importantly, and what I always say is most important to the strategy of Bridgewater, is we have a solid budget process. And I look toward, you know, like Susie, who is former FinCom member, to keep the budget resolution process as a kickoff process and keep going, because I view the budget as very fragile. You know, we've talked about good times and how that's a positive on the budget. You know, we've all seen building continue both on the commercial side and residential side, but we've never seen a change in the ratio of that commercial to residential. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and you have one small item or one large item like BP, you know, if the vote fails and it has to go internal to the operations, it's going to have a huge impact on the town. And a downturn in the economy could have major effects. And the budget's always very fragile. So I spend a lot of time looking at it. I'll probably still continue to follow it. I feel it's in good hands with everybody here, the finance director, the town manager, and everything. But I think overall the process here has been very positive. I've enjoyed my time. I've enjoyed my time working with everybody, even if I don't agree on every single subject that we talk about. But, you know, I think this is the right form of government, and that's why I got involved, was to help it stand up. It's standing up. It's time for me to move on. So thank you for your kind words tonight. I don't know where you're going to put the statue, but I'll be there for the ribbon cutting. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Counselor. We all wish you the best. I do hope to see everyone at the polls on Saturday for the important votes that some of us here tonight have discussed, and I think it'll be a very positive outcome. I anticipate that, and I certainly hope for that. So that's what I have to say. We were working on such a great track record time-wise tonight, but I have to throw a wrench into that works, because I need to ask you to consider a motion to approve entry into executive session. So I will entertain a motion to move into executive session under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and to adjourn from executive session. So this will require a roll call vote. If you would, please.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Lindy?
Yes?
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much.